In 2009, Juventus demolished a stadium that was barely 19 years old, a ground that had hosted a World Cup semi-final, a venue that cost €200 million to build, and they did not renovate it. They tore every single brick of it down and started completely from scratch. To the outside world, it looked like the most expensive admission of failure in football history. But what Juventus built in its place, a smaller, smarter, fully owned stadium, generated more revenue and more dominance than anything the old ground had ever produced. 9 consecutive Serie A titles followed, along with a commercial model that almost every major Italian club is still trying to copy today. The story of how Juventus reached that moment is stranger than most people realize, because it begins with a stadium that was doomed before it ever opened. Italy was hosting the 1990 World Cup, and Turin needed a new stadium. Both Juventus and Torino were still sharing the aging Stadio Comunale, built in 1933 and completely unsuitable for a global tournament. So the city took over. They commissioned architect Studio Hutter, funded the entire project with public money, and designed a 69,041-seat venue built more for political prestige than footballing need. Juventus had no ownership, no design input, and no control over what was being built in their name. They simply had to move in and pay rent every single season for the privilege. Construction began in 1988, and the Stadio delle Alpi opened in May 1990, just in time for the World Cup. For those 6 extraordinary summer weeks, the stadium was everything it was designed to be. But the moment the World Cup ended and regular football began, the problems became impossible to ignore. The fatal flaw had been baked into the design before a single brick was laid. The Italian Olympic Committee insisted on a full athletics track running between the stands and the pitch, pushing every fan up to 28 meters away from the action. Sightlines were blocked entirely by advertising hoardings. Upper-tier fans needed binoculars just to follow the ball. The worst part? The track was almost completely useless, never once used for a major international event because no warm-up track was included. The weather made everything worse. The Delle Alpi sat on the exposed northern outskirts of Turin, directly in the path of alpine winds, creating a vicious wind tunnel that fans called the Brezza delle Alpi. And Turin's famous low-hanging fog added another layer of misery. On bad nights, upper-tier supporters literally could not see the far goal, forced to judge the game entirely by the reactions of fans below them. The attendance figures told the inevitable story. Juventus averaged just 26,000 fans in their final seasons, in a 69,000-seat stadium. The lowest point came in the 2001 to 2002 Coppa Italia, when Juventus hosted Sampdoria, and only 237 people showed up. Despite being Italy's biggest club, Juventus were earning a fraction of what they should. No premium areas, no commercial control, and an almost empty stadium generating almost nothing. Giovanni Agnelli summed it up perfectly. Playing at the Delle Alpi was like always playing away. By 2003, Juventus purchased the stadium from the city for just €25 million, a fraction of its original cost. And the moment they owned it, a bold decision was made. There would be no renovation. The Delle Alpi would be demolished entirely. Demolishing a €200 million stadium after less than 20 years is not a decision any club takes lightly. Critics called it vandalism, a waste of public money, and an embarrassment to Italian architecture. But for Juventus, this wasn't really about demolition. It was about finally taking control of their own future. When Juventus purchased the stadium in 2002, the initial plan wasn't full demolition. The club explored rebuilding within the existing structure, removing the athletics track and bringing the stands closer to the pitch while keeping the outer shell to save costs. A 2007 start date was targeted, but years of environmental permits and Italy's notoriously slow bureaucracy repeatedly pushed the project back. Then came Calciopoli in 2006. Juventus were relegated to Serie B, stripped of 2 Serie A titles, and forced to move to the Stadio Olimpico. The Delle Alpi sat empty and unused, deteriorating while the club's plans changed completely. Partial renovation was no longer enough. Full demolition became the only solution. The formal demolition plan was approved in February 2008, and bulldozers arrived on site that September. By February 2009, the entire structure had been cleared. But what happened to the rubble is one of the most remarkable parts of this story. Rather than being discarded, all that concrete, steel, and copper was recycled and used as the foundation for the new stadium. The failure of the past was literally buried beneath the foundation of success. Construction officially began in July 2009, and the philosophy behind the new stadium was a complete rejection of everything the Delle Alpi had represented. The most striking decision was the capacity. Instead of building another 69,000-seat giant, Juventus deliberately downsized to 41,507 seats. A full intimate stadium would generate more revenue per seat, create a better home advantage, and deliver a superior experience for every fan. The design details made that vision real. Fans now sit just 7.5 meters from the pitch, compared to 28 meters at the Delle Alpi. The roof was engineered to direct noise downward, trapping atmosphere inside the stadium. The external facade proudly referenced every Scudetto Juventus had ever won, while the interior was designed by Pininfarina, the legendary firm behind Ferrari cars. That level of design ambition had never been seen in an Italian football stadium before. The wider development completed the picture: 62 skyboxes, 31 bars and restaurants, a Juventus museum, and 4,000 dedicated parking spaces, all owned and operated entirely by Juventus for the first time in their history. The Delle Alpi was gone, and what replaced it didn't just change a stadium, it transformed Juventus forever. But the story didn't end there. The Allianz Stadium wasn't just a new home, it was the start of a financial and cultural revolution that would make Juventus one of the most modern and commercially successful clubs in Europe. When the Allianz Stadium opened on September 8, 2011, the contrast with the Delle Alpi was immediate and total. Under manager Antonio Conte, Juventus went the entire 2011 to 2012 Serie A season completely unbeaten, not just at home, but across every single match of the entire campaign. It was the first time any Italian club had achieved that across a full 38-game season. The new stadium had not just replaced the old one, it had transformed the entire atmosphere around the club overnight. The fan base responded in a way the Delle Alpi had never seen. The same supporters who had spent years staying away suddenly could not get enough. Average attendance jumped from just 26,000 in the Delle Alpi's final years to over 37,000 in the very first season. And within 3 seasons, the stadium was selling out completely. Season ticket waiting lists appeared for the first time in the club's modern history. Between 2012 and 2020, Juventus won 9 consecutive Serie A titles, the most dominant domestic run by any club in Europe's top 5 leagues during that entire period. The fortress the Delle Alpi had never been was suddenly completely real. The financial transformation was just as extraordinary. Since opening, the Allianz Stadium has generated approximately 800 million euros in total revenue. In 2023 to 24 alone, Juventus earned 57 million euros in matchday revenue, nearly 6 times the Serie A average of 10.9 million euros per club. The club is already targeting 100 million euros in annual stadium revenue, a number that would have seemed fictional at the Delle Alpi, where 237 fans once showed up to a Coppa Italia match. The impact spread across the entire sport in Italy. Inter Milan and AC Milan are still locked in political battles over the San Siro. Roma spent years failing to get a new stadium approved. The model Juventus pioneered, club ownership, intimate design, year-round commercial operation, is now the blueprint every ambitious Italian club is desperately trying to replicate. It just took most of them over a decade to understand what had actually happened. And there is one final detail that brings the entire story full circle. The concrete from the demolished Delle Alpi is buried in the foundations of the Allianz Stadium. The failure is literally holding up the success. Every sold-out match day, every roar from 41,000 supporters pressed close to the pitch, and every one of those 9 consecutive titles, all of it standing on the crushed rubble of the most hated stadium in Italian football history. Juventus did not just demolish a stadium in 2009. They demolished a way of thinking. And in doing so, they changed Italian football forever. So, do you think Juventus made the right call demolishing the Delle Alpi after just 19 years? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe and hit the like button for more football stadium stories just like this one.